Hey, this is Cap, and you're watching Thorin, the only man besides Richard Lewis who somehow found a way to get both League of Legends and Dota Redditors to hate him.
It's all too easy to be oblivious to the role that Reddit, social media play within our community, within the esports community, in this case within the League of Legends community, where obviously the subreddit is not just very vital for the health of the game, the community, it's actually one of the biggest subreddits on all of Reddit. People might not be aware of that, actually. It's enormous, comparable actually to things like the politics subreddit, the news subreddit, in theory, the most viewed subreddits there are out there. So when we think about this, it's very easy to just be oblivious to that because these things are ubiquitous. I mean, they are basically the kind of water in which we all swim as fish in that particular sense. I guess kind of a mixed metaphor with Twitter there, right? This is all about birds in that sense. So it's easy enough to just take for granted, like, this is just the way things are, to complain about things without thinking about what's the mechanism behind how they work. So the thing that spurred people to reflect upon this a little bit, let's say a week ago, I think, was maybe just over a week, was 100 Thieves, the LCS team, were expected coming into the split to be one of the best teams, and one of their best players, the in-game leader, the shot caller, one of the stars of the team, Afromu, MVP of the league last year, was heavily criticised when the team failed to live up to the kind of expectations. In fact, they were much, much poorer, at times looking like one of the absolute worst teams in the whole LCS, and Afromu himself was a lightning rod for criticism because he was the leader, because he was a former MVP, because he's a star player, because people know he gets paid a lot of money, because it was a roster with a lot of expectations, and he clearly plays some sort of integral role within it, because one of the players added who performed very poorly, the mid laner, is someone people look at Afromu and think with his connection with that, who he, back when he was in CLG, probably had some say with him coming over, or maybe even vouched for him, or perhaps even requested him entirely. So people have an issue with the fact that seemingly everyone, at least that was the trend, was going hard on Afromu. They were going in on him, memeing on him, saying he's bad, going more hyperbolic, saying he's shit. People doing the classic thing where they rewrite all of history, retcon it, that he was always shit, or he was always overrated, or he's been overrated for 4 years, and people just didn't see it till now. And, I actually posted this in, 2016, and everyone downvoted me. We've all seen the usual threads. And what really catalysed this into something the community wanted to discuss, beyond just discussing how bad they thought Afromu was, and what a waste of a check, was Voyboy, obviously classic Season 2, Season 3 pro, himself someone who has drawn the ire of Reddit a lot, and in fact I would go ahead and speculate one of the reasons he retired at the end of season 4, was because he's someone who didn't seem like he could handle a lot of the criticism on Reddit, actually, especially when he was someone who used to be a top player himself, and therefore the scrutiny was a lot more than just a random bad player in the league. Then you have a look, Doublelift, someone who obviously has been criticised a lot by Reddit. I mean, people used to love on Reddit. There was a massive groundswell of people. While there were some people who still acknowledged he was very good, there was a lot of people who used to link to that r/Doublelift's trophy case, cabinet, I think it's case, isn't it? And say, look, he's shit, he's never won. A lot of those people, now that he's, banged out a whole bunch of championships, the most in history, by the way, in terms of LCS titles in North America. Now, all of a sudden, people love the guy, and he has a lot more leeway, so he's kind of seen both sides of it. These guys came out, they spoke out against this, against criticism of Afromu, about how harsh people are. But the thing is, this is a topic that's not just going to go away. Like, just because we reflect on it now, or we do one of those, half-assed, come on, guys, don't be toxic. But why don't you just say to other people what you would want them to say to you? Like some dog shit golden or silver rule type scenario. It's going to affect pros for a long time. So to me, it's more about almost laying out what the landscape is, looking at the mechanisms here, facing some tough truths and realities, and then seeing going forwards how we're going to characterize all of this, how we're going to contextualize it all. Because obviously, I'm someone, I'll get into this, who I've been criticised a lot on Reddit, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't actually be that relevant a figure if I wasn't in that particular sense, right? If I was just a content creator only and you just saw my name on the byline, or it was the name of me on the video, but the video had nothing to do with me whatsoever, there's nothing to discuss about me, I doubt I would be as successful. I doubt I would be in the position I am right now, a very fortunate position with lots of options. So what I want to do in terms of content, a lot easier for me to promote my work than other people. I'm able to kind of get reaction to things that, I mean, I would actually say in a bizarre sense, I actually count it as a blessing that bizarrely, I could have a piece of content people don't like and don't agree with, but instead of just saying, well, I don't care about that, and just pushing it to one side and ignoring it or just downvoting it, they'll actually still engage with it. Now, they might not engage with it sometimes on the most let's say, like high resolution level and really like dive into the nuance and try and make a very reasoned argument. Sometimes they're just going to say this is shit, or, you know, it's just doing this for the clicks or whatever. Or, oh, it's just a guy who doesn't know anything about the game. He's just rabble rousing. Or, you know, they can go whatever angle they want. They do engage with it still. That is better than being ignored. You know, in line with the old Oscar Wilde quote about the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So I'm actually gonna, by the way, defend the role of Reddit and social media and say that they're necessary evils. In fact, they're necessary evils in the context of what that metaphor means, but they're actually not evil even. And even when they're criticism, where there are criticisms and flame and even people being mean and people going out their way to kind of like make fun of someone, I actually think that has a valid role in our community. But first, as someone who's been criticised a lot on Reddit and been probably affected at times by Reddit, I will say, because this is one of the problems with this whole issue, is you've got all these different people out there who want to discuss this topic, but they're all coming from totally different places, and they maybe don't stop and take their mind back and go to a neutral position and then try and go to the other person's point of view and see from their perspective what they're viewing when they see Reddit, when they post a comment, when they read a comment. If that's the person making the comment, or just a person seeing all the comments, or just the person who's actually being commented about. There's so many different ways to look at this. So I will say, first of all, to the people who get criticised by Reddit, pro players, community figures, whoever they might be, I relate, and I can certainly empathise if you're going through the fire right now. If you're getting criticised, if it's just seemingly never-ending wave of shit, like everything you read, it feels unfair because they don't know why you're failing, or they don't know that sometimes they blamed you for something that was actually a teammate's fuck up, you don't want to throw your teammate under the bus, or they're criticising you because it's the cool thing to do the last few weeks, and so even though your particular offence on this week wasn't as bad, there's already sort of like a backlog built up of past offences that people are going to go, right, well, that just connects into that trajectory. And so, yeah, he's still shit. Look, let's all laugh at him again. He did it badly. I get all that. Like, yeah, there's a lot of reasons as to why it can feel fucked up. And by the way, many other people in the industry can relate and empathise too, because it generally affects us all. There's very few people I can think of who are relevant or have any kind of sizable following or impact on the community who don't get criticised at some point in time, or don't have people mischaracterise them, or take what they say in an unfavourable or ungenerous manner. Like, this all happens to everyone. And I'm not going to be someone, by the way, despite what I might do when I'm on a desk or in somewhere where I'm going full persona mode. I'm not someone who's going to pretend I'm too cool. And it's like, I don't care what other people think or say about me. Like, no. I mean, I care to some degree. Here's the key thing. Maybe I don't care to the extent that I don't allow it to then activate a certain response in me always. Like, sometimes I'll certainly do hot takes on Twitter, but I don't tend to let it affect my work. And that's the key thing. Because, yes, it affects me if people talk shit, or they say something very mean, or they go out their way to be disingenuous, or they mischaracterise what I say, or they're just kind of spiteful, or they make a mean joke about me where, you know, I don't think the joke's that funny, so it's like, oh, it's been a bit mean. Yeah, these things affect me. These things will have some influence on my mood, etc. But my motto has always been, that is all true. Like, absolutely, if I read those things, they would have some influence, some effect. The key thing is, it's not that I'm going to do it anyway, or I'm going to do this instead because they do that, or I'm not going to do it because, people won't let you say these things down there. No, my motto is, whatever the response, etc., I disconnected it from what I do. So the key thing is, I just don't let that response stop me from doing what I want to do or saying what I want to say. Now, that means, yes, I'm accepting that this will be a seemingly inevitable consequence of some of the things I say or do. But yeah, I'm accepting that. Now, sometimes it's not going to be as bad. Sometimes it's going to be really bad. Okay, that's the case. But the key thing for me here is, don't ever get yourself caught into some kind of linear thinking where you have to respond a certain way to something, or you have to be part of like addressing it because otherwise it's so unfair. If it's unfair, disconnect it. Be like, they're being unfair to me. Okay, I'm not going to be unfair to them. I'm not going to be unfair to anyone else. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And if I think this is a disproportionate response, I will let that response be its own thing, because it is. That's the other person getting influenced by what you said, reacting to what you said, and responding in their particular manner for whatever reason. Who knows where they've been in their life? Who knows what idiosyncrasies they have as a person? Who knows what their competency in English and literacy is? Maybe they misunderstood one word, they've taken completely the wrong meaning from it. Maybe they're just in a fucked up place in their life. Maybe their kids just stopped screaming after there's some car drive home, and the wife's going fucking mental at them, and they've come online, and they're fucking New York Giants fan, and seen Odell Beckham just got traded, and then they come on and they see a comment by you, and they go, this fucking guy, and they go off on you, and it's not even really you they're going off on. Like, yeah, that's probably the most favourable reading of some of the comments out there, right? But the point is, you really can't know where people are coming from, so there's no point thinking as what it would be like if you'd said that comment, or what would motivate you to say it, because you're not in the same position as them. And that's a spiral that will head towards madness. That will be a very frustrating way of thinking, especially because you'll keep looping back to the thought, which is like, this is unfair, this is unfair, this is unfair, they can't do this, they should stop doing this is unfair, can't people stop this, can't people be nice? It's like, I know how people get caught in that. I get caught in that myself sometimes. I get in the spin cycle sometimes. I get in the drama cycle sometimes. But the point is, when you come out of it for a second like now, and we're thinking in more of a sterile manner where no one's saying anything mean to us right this second, you can see that it doesn't really help anything, does it? Like, to do that doesn't help anything in the same way as someone saying, oh, it's okay, sorry about all the horrible comments, like, it's not your fault. Like, that doesn't help either. Like, it doesn't stop it, right? A mean comment's a mean comment. It's not like a good comment cancels it out. That's part of the problem, right? So I would say this. One of the weird things about social media, and one of the reasons why, here's the thing. On the one hand, it is as bad as it seems and worse. And on the other hand, it's not at all. So the reason it is as bad and worse is that people in the early days of the internet used to go, this isn't real life though. Like, they used to even say it in real life, obviously, when you're not on the computer. They used to be like, this is just the internet. Who cares what anyone says? Like, it doesn't matter what anyone says on the internet. It's just the internet, whatever. But like, it's not really, because if people spend as much of their lives as they do on the internet now, and they're commenting all the times on the internet, and they're thinking on the internet, they're having conversations on the internet, they're joining in hate threads on the internet, they're joining in praise threads on the internet, and they're all over the place on the internet. The internet now is quite an integral part of their lives, and it's becoming part of their character, their personality, how they express themselves. But more importantly, because the internet has anonymity, semi-anonymity, where, someone might know your username, but they don't really know you as a person, it does mean that you don't get any of the real life consequences. Obviously, you don't get beaten up if you go up to a massive tough guy on Reddit and say, hey, you fucking punk, like, you wouldn't say shit to me. You can't do anything to you in that sense. So certainly, it's the case that you shouldn't write it off and go, well, just because it's the internet, he's doing that. Well, no, because that's the thing. That person, if they met you in real life, might think that in their mind. In fact, right now, while you're in a Starbucks or while you're at home, one of your family members might be pissed off at you, they might internally be thinking kind of a mean comment or a vengeful comment or a spiteful comment, or they might just be criticizing you in their head, or they might be thinking lovely things about you. Point is, you won't always know because it's going to stay up in their head, and when they come to speak and they're in the real world, they're just in your physical presence, they're going to address you in a different manner, especially because they're going to see a human being there. They're going to see your response, how your gesture, they're going to see facial reaction, body language. There's all that communication going on that has nothing to do with just speech. And so they're going to be constantly attuning to that, because that's what our brains do when we have conversations. And it's going to affect how they speak. A lot of that is going to be cut out when they just speak on the internet. When they speak on the internet, it's almost like they're speaking just into a void, because it's not to anyone. It's not necessarily about anyone. They can kind of choose what that is in that sense. And they don't get a direct feedback. In fact, the feedback is delayed. Things like Reddit, have the up, down vote, you have the likes and retweets on Twitter, but you don't get that direct feedback. And you certainly can't sort of be halfway through and go, actually, you know what? Fuck, that's a bad way to phrase it. My bad. Like, you kind of can't do that in some way. You have to launch it, see what the response is, then you can somehow go and do the next kind of sequential response to that. So I would just say this. That's why in some ways, it is as bad as it seems, because I actually think what you find is what people are like on the inside. And unfortunately, once you remove a lot of the social mores and then even social consequences, there's a lot of dark thoughts in people's heads. That's why you wouldn't want like something that could scan your thoughts. That's why you wouldn't want the thought police. Because who doesn't occasionally have dark thoughts? Who doesn't just have a mean thought towards someone who's actually fucking helping you, but you're just in a bad mood that day? Of course these things happen. Who doesn't have lovely thoughts actually towards someone where you just can't express it in person, right? Maybe on the internet it's easier to express that. That's why sometimes it can seem awkward when people are overly praising you, right? So what I would say is the reason why it's not as bad is because they're behind a computer screen. They wouldn't say that to you in real life. Like, what's weird is it reminds me of what people say is so strange about the road rage phenomenon, which for people who aren't English speakers, basically is where people are in their car, someone else, they don't like the way they've drived, or they got cut off by them, or the guy overtook wrong, and they won't just get upset and go, oh, what an idiot. They'll be screaming, shaking their fist, doing gestures to the guy, fuck you. Like, sometimes you even see mad scenarios where, the cars pull up to each other, someone will wind down the window, be telling, fuck you up, you ever fucking do it again, you piece of shit. And what's mental about that is, if they were actually to get out of their cars, it's very unlikely that person, even if the same kind of equivalent behaviour happened without being in cars, it's very unlikely that person would go straight in the other person's face like that. So the bizarre phenomenon is, all you really need for some reason is to put this thin piece of glass between the two of you, and somehow it separates the person enough that you will react to them in a way as though they aren't right in front of you there, actually, as though you're just someone screaming at a movie theatre screen like, oh, this fucking sucks, this writing's garbage, and as though the person's not going to somehow respond to you, or as though the person is just a driver. They're not actually another human being who's going to get hurt by what you said or might be having a tough day themselves. It's a way that kind of dehumanizes us, somehow just having that screen. Well, obviously what makes this metaphor perfect is the computer screen, the phone screen. Again, you just put a screen in between two people and have them communicate. And even though communication is supposed to be about connecting, sharing an idea, and then hopefully having like a dialogue about it, in reality, it sometimes becomes this screen, someone behind it. I can say anything I want through the screen to that person. They can't be mean to me or say something back to me. I'll say anything I want. And is it even a person? No, it's just an avatar. It's just a username. It's just an idea, and fuck the idea. And obviously, certainly engaging with just ideas is good, but people tend to do it in a way which attacks the person behind the idea, right? So let's have this discussion now, because I actually think one of the main reasons why it is very important to have things like Reddit and social media, Twitter, etc., Instagram, is because it allows for community discussion. It allows for people who aren't famous, who haven't got their own podcast, who couldn't go to a live event and meet other people. Someone who just comes online. The beauty of the internet, anyone in bumfuck anywhere can get online, find an affinity group of people who are interested in similar things to him, and I would say discuss things, or you know what, just argue about things, just meme about things, just make jokes about things, whatever it is. It allows for discussion. It is an open discussion where in theory anyone can join in. Now that's going to lead to very low quality discussions sometimes, and some absolute shit being spewed, and some meanness and some unacceptable behaviour at times, but that's the point of allowing this open, wide space for discussion and dialogue, and people to say pretty much what they want within certain rules that happen to be, you know, already mandated within the forum subreddit, whatever it might be in that sense. Now, the reason why I know that's essential is because that's what grew the internet, essentially. Because back in the day, we didn't have Reddit, yes, we didn't have Twitter, but we had forums, we had websites with comment sections, we had bulletin boards, obviously what most people think of when they think of forums, and that was the whole point there. Yeah, there'd be the troll and the evil guy who's going to fucking say the most horrible thing ever. Yeah, there'd be the nice guy who's just a cool guy who comments how he likes everything. Yeah, there's the people who are going to debate forever the most minor nitpick detail overall. Yeah, there's some people who are going to have a really awesome conversation, and that might not get distracted or might get interrupted by an idiot who tries to fuck it up. Everything can happen. That's the point. And because everything can happen, really cool shit can happen, really whack shit can happen, very mundane stuff in the middle, probably what happens most days, can happen as well. You don't have drama, right? So there has to be some freedom for people who are fans of games, specifically like League of Legends as an esport. There has to be freedom for them to go somewhere and have a talk. There has to be freedom within that for them to give whatever their thoughts are, no matter how ill-informed they might be, no matter how unfair they might be, no matter how silly they might be, no matter how over the top or disproportionate they might be. And obviously they might not be any of those things, but they might be this because there's this freedom to say whatever you want. So there has to be room to speculate, because that's another thing. People will say, well, you know, you don't know what goes on in a team and you don't know why someone did that, so don't comment on it. It's like, no. You could make the point that you don't think it's going to be accurate if they comment, but you know what? Do comment. Do. If you want to speculate on something, Reddit and Twitter and social media, Instagram, it's exactly the place to speculate. Now, I will say if you speculate certain places like Twitter and Instagram, they might block you. They might not like you if they think you're mean or unfair or whatever. That's just, again, that as a user is what comes with the territory. But this is the place to do it. If you want to just be a fan, if you want to just be someone spitballing, throwing ideas out there, this is the place to do it. It's the appropriate place to do it. It's not that like, oh, should we allow that? No, this is the main purpose of these things. And that allows people to just have fun, to make memes, to make jokes. So you know what? Part of a function, a byproduct of making jokes is going to be someone's going to have their feelings hurt, because unfortunately the person who's the target of the joke or the person who's the mechanism, the butt of the joke, is probably not going to enjoy the joke. Now, obviously, I would hope they could understand that they are themselves later, when they're seeing a different joke that isn't at all about them and isn't about someone they care about, they might be able to enjoy the joke and the mechanism of the joke too, and therefore you just got to sort of wait it out if you're the person who's the butt of the joke at that moment, because you know good jokes are going to come later that you can get in on. It's like the people who go to the stand-up comedian set and then they're laughing at all the stuff he said about smokers and all the stuff he said about overweight people and all the stuff about people from this country, and then they go into this one topic. Maybe for them it's politics or something like, I don't know, religion's obviously a good one, and the second it goes to that topic, oh, this is unacceptable, this is, you have offended me, like that wasn't funny, like I feel attacked and stuff. It's like, come on mate, that's just your thing. Like someone else out there was feeling that way when he started. Like, you think there's not a guy in the audience who, when he was like making making fun of like a fat guy. He wasn't just like, oh, that makes me feel bad though, because actually I'm a bit overweight and I know I should do better. Of course there is, but you know what? He has to sit through that few minutes till he gets to the good shit as well. Like, what's funny is you have to recognize the mechanism that the thing that hurts you now is exactly the thing that if it wasn't you, so when you aren't that person later on in a different scenario, is going to work for you. That's why it's not evil. The joke isn't evil. The response might be horrible, but that depends on who it lands on. When it goes to everyone else, the response that was horrible to you won't necessarily be horrible to them. Also, a very essential reason why we need these forums and discussion places in esports is to keep people engaged. If we only ever talked when the games are going on, and we only ever talked about the game, and we only ever talked about strategy in the game, and we only talked about things that were not speculation at all, they were purely fact-based, stat-based, metrics, concepts, it would be a very boring scene. We need people to have discussion, lively conversation. When I first got into basketball in the mid-2000s, really, really heavily, I was in it when I was younger, when I was in the 90s, we didn't really have much basketball on television, etc. But when I got on the internet, obviously I could go and view these things. I used to love going on these like really hardcore fan basketball forums where they would have just debates every day about like who was the greatest power forward of all time. I think it was Tim Duncan. Fuck you, it's Karl Malone. What about Barkley in his prime, you know? And then people would have these long debates and discussions. Now, at that moment in time, every single player except Tim Duncan there was fucking retired for ages. You might go, well, what's even the point and why are they even speculating? Plus, they wouldn't know what inflict the team had on them. And, you know, do we have to even rank people and debate them? Can't we just say everyone's good? It's like, that's your thing, mate. So what you're saying is you don't want to be included in that. Cool. Then you go off to your little room and have your little discussion, or no discussion at all, and let these people have their discussion. Because when people get engaged like that, when people care about other players enough to criticise them, to speculate about them, to scrutinise them, to praise them, to rank them, to put them in context, to debate back and forwards, that's a really good sign for the esport. That means it is like a sport to people. People live this shit. People get passionate about it. Like, as much as I might make fun of plebs who are like going too ham over stuff in video games, I go too ham myself, obviously, but in a way even that's positive. Like, for example, I will debate to the death and write a 3,000 word article about why, you know, the person you think's the number 3 top laner of all time is actually the number 2 top laner of all time, and here are the reasons why, and you know, aren't I right? Like, yeah, obviously that's the thing you do. That's because I really care about the game, as I'm sure on some level the people who are engaging with these discussions do. So I consider that, again, something which might at times be perceived or interpreted as being negative, but that's just that particular outcome that day. The overall trend, the overall phenomenon is, I would say, overwhelmingly positive and beneficial to the game and the health of the esports scene. Then you've got to add in, this is something I figured out many years ago, it's part of the reason for the success of my career, is you might think, well, this isn't even a fact, you know, like earlier on that didn't happen, or, you know, look what they said here. It's like, narratives are more powerful than facts, because narratives take facts, maybe not all the facts, maybe the facts in a skewed manner, and they put them together into a storyline, because storylines mean a lot more than just random data points for humans. You've got to have the pattern between the data points, or you've got to have something that explains the data points. That's the most interesting thing to people. So again, it's not bad that narratives exist. Yeah, as a player, you might not agree entirely with the narrative. Totally get that. You might think that the narrative is unfair. Totally get that. But if you say, let's just not have narratives, guys. First of all, you're fighting a losing battle. You're never going to win that one. You can't swim against the stream on that one, mate. What you want to do instead is either say, well, I don't like that sort of shit. I don't agree with that behaviour, so I'm going to, you know, exclude myself from this. I'm going to ignore it entirely. You can do that. You can even complain, by the way, and just say, I wish there wasn't narratives, and that's just you expressing your frustration. But know that nothing will happen. Another option, by the way, is you go, right, this is the game. It's about narratives. So as a result, I'm going to play the game of narratives. I'm going to get involved with managing the expectations of what my narrative is. I'm going to take control of my narrative, and I'm going to try and steer it a different way. I'm going to talk about why this is the case, or I'm going to say I agree with this aspect of it, or when they say something I do like as a narrative, I'm going to take that on board. I'm going to make it part of my persona, make that part of who I am. You can go that way as well, in which case you can use this mechanism to potentially benefit yourself, or at least, very minimum, as people do with PR, you know, damage control. Let's limit how much you do get wrecked by it. Let's see if we can steer it a little bit, even if we can't overall decide which way it's going to go, and we certainly can't swim against the stream. Because the whole thing is, for me, things like Reddit, things like Twitter, people say stuff like, oh, they've only just lost the game. Look at all these fucking hot takes. Like, why doesn't everyone just wait and then think about the game, or wait until their emotions have died down? Well, you know what? You can do both. You can do all that. You can wait until your emotions have died down and think about the game. You can do that and you can have the hot take. I mean, for me, as far as I'm concerned, Twitter and Reddit are basically 4 hot takes. They're about something that's happening now. It's relevant. It's got a very short window before it's going to drop down on Reddit. So you see it now. You respond now. You make your comment now. You get involved now. And it's going to be over in a day or two, right? So in that scenario, I mean, even though we don't always treat Twitter and Reddit like they're 4 hot takes, like this is reasonable, it is kind of what it's for. And again, it is the appropriate place for hot takes. Now, I have to say, and this is something I have to accept that is a reality, I'd like to live in a world where someone makes a hot take on Twitter, and then a few hours later, they can also go, actually, you know what? That was a bit harsh, wasn't it? And they can walk it back if they want, or they can say, maybe I need to add some nuance to that. And then it's not a big deal. No, obviously some people will just go, I don't care what you said. Look at what you said in the hot take, and then you will be treated forever based on this. Yeah, sure, there's a lot of that unfair behaviour. Because you know what? I don't know if you looked around the world. Pretty unfair fucking place at times, right? Can also be a totally cool place. Can be very unfair though. And so in the same way, you're not going to get like what your subjective version of justice is online. You just got to accept that that's the case. So again, I'm not saying that I'm going to change anything by making this video. I'm just trying to diagnose what's going on. I'm not even saying it's a disease. I'm saying we're going to diagnose what the situation is. So yeah, there are going to be negatives that come along with what I just described as potential positives. I mean, yeah, people are going to get their feelings hurt over reading mean or critical remarks. Now, first of all, part of the reason why that is, and why you can't just say to a pro, you know what, just ignore it all, mate, is because they come from the community. Once upon a time, they weren't the biggest pro in the world. Once upon a time, they didn't have 100,000 followers. Once upon a time, if one person messaged them, that person probably knew them or liked them, and they enjoyed interacting with that guy and messaging him back or having a back and forth or just reading his comments. And the problem is, as it scaled up, obviously, he's been somewhat diluted by more and more people who don't necessarily like you or are commenting because you're relevant, but they don't particularly care for what you have to say or aren't interested in you or want to argue with you or want to hurt your feelings. Yeah, this is all the case. So as a result, I get why players want to be able to engage with this. They want to be able to read it and see mostly nice comments. They want to think they can argue with these people or reason with them, or, you know, like, if you just give me a chance, or like, this is unfair, guys, like, what about this point? But again, you have to face that reality that you're never going to win over everyone. You're never going to affect everyone that way. Some people don't like you. Some people, it's not even something you did sometimes. Sometimes you just rub people the wrong way with your personality. I do it all the fucking time. Practically a pro-it, right? That's why I've got that tagline in my Twitter bio, which actually comes from like a Russian saying where they say, didn't mean to offend you, just got lucky, which I think is like a perfect way to describe my Twitter account. So, yes, when people get abuse, when people get harassment, and I'm not talking about people just messaging, I'm talking about like people going out their way to be horrible, people like being persistently mean to you, even when you're just overwhelmed by criticism sometimes and scrutiny, yeah, you know what? Listen, abuse and harassment are unacceptable. But again, it's also impossible to avoid if you go to social media, if you go to your Twitter and read the mentions with no filters, no anything. If you go to Reddit and you just read a thread that's about you, you're going to see these things because they're there. So even though on one level, as a person, I'd say they're unacceptable, although with that said, I personally wouldn't ban a lot of them. I can't let the community take care of it. It's also the case that, like, if you want to avoid them, you must literally avoid them. You must literally not go there at all. That's going to take a lot of discipline. You're going to have to build up that habit or break the habit from when you were a smaller guy and you used to read that shit. I always say to people, the reason why I feel like people should be a lot fairer with, like, big name people and go, not just tell them, just avoid that entirely then. Because it's like, how could you really relate in that sense? Have you ever been in that kind of situation? Like, I sometimes give this analogy. If you were someone who I said to you, right, we've installed some tech, by the way, and if you press this button here, you'll find out what everyone in your community thinks about you. Some of it, what they say to each other. Some of it, what they would say to you if they were here right now. You're telling me you wouldn't press that button. Now, some people, again, would be too cool for school. I wouldn't do it. Maybe, you know what? Maybe you wouldn't. But I would say I've met a lot of people in esports, and I don't even know if I could say that 1% of the top people, big name people, followers, have discipline when it comes to checking social media. A lot of them, you wouldn't believe how much it influences them, how much they're wrecked by it, how much they're in green rooms, or they're like traveling around, and you can just see on their face, they're looking at their phone and they're getting affected by things, they're getting tilted by things. They might be having a lovely day other than that, but they're just going like, right, let me open this little window into here. I'm a piece of shit. And it's like, reckon them. No. And it's not that, like, I can't blame them entirely. I've done it myself plenty of times, obviously. It's difficult. That's the point. It's a habit that you have built up that initially, by the way, as I said, was probably rewarding. It's probably mostly people who wanted to interact with you, they were cool people. And it's just over time, you've got diminishing returns. And they don't realise now that when they open that reply chain or they open that thread after they have a bad game, it's like, what do you expect to see in there? It's like if everyone who came to your door and left a package, if like 9 out of 10 had dog shit in them, you'd stop opening the packages eventually, guys. You would, wouldn't you, right? The problem is, if that came after 2 years of getting packages where 9 out of 10 things in there were cakes and were lovely messages, you'd still be thinking, but what if it's a cake though? Like, maybe it's going to turn around. Maybe it's going to go down to, like, only 6 out of 10 dog shits. Like, this would be the way it would happen because you've built up a habit and now you're going to break a habit. I mean, I think the figure I saw in a study was it takes roughly 66 days to create a new habit. I don't think there's many people who have tried for that long to not read their mentions, to be more selective with how they filter things, to filter out a certain word when a game finishes. A lot of features. It's the same as the people in League who complain, I shouldn't have to mute my teammate, he is being abusive to me. Yeah, you know what? He might be being abusive to you. He might be being horrible to you. But if you want to continue the game without that affecting you all the time, you have to mute him, mate. That is just the reality of the game. And so in the same sense, if you've just lost a game and it's gone to shit completely and you want to check your mentions, I'd pull up that filter bar on TweetDeck, mate. I'd type some of the words in there you don't want to see. Take the L, loser, whatever it might, fuck you, whatever. You could put whatever you like and then you'll be able to filter out some of the comments. Do you do that? No. Because again, it's like, well, I shouldn't have to. This is unfair. Mate, if you're going around in life saying this is unfair, but I won't take any action that myself could help the situation, well, more fool you then. Why the fuck should anyone else take any action? Come on, think it through. So, as I've alluded to here, and it's been a constant theme in the video, is this just comes with the territory. Sadly, but it just comes with the territory. So no amount of head shaking or hand wringing is going to change that. No amount of posts or pleas that we should all stop being toxic. I often give the analogy of that way. It's like, stop being toxic. It's like, I don't think that works, guys. Like, it's like in England, okay, when you used to go into nightclubs, there would often be like a little picture or a sticker, like near the urinal, so you'd be on the urinal, you could see it when you were pissing, basically, or as you're cleaning your hands and then drying them, you'd see a sticker on the dry cleaner, and it would say something like, basically things that are against, like, physical domestic abuse of women, like, if you beat your wife, we'll find out, or something, that sort of shit, right? The problem with that is, I always used to think to myself, who the fuck are they actually getting to with that? Like, who's the guy who's having a night out that's going to somehow end with him beating up his significant other, his girlfriend, whoever he's with, but is going to think, yeah, shouldn't do that, actually. That's wrong. That's fucked up in society. In fact, that's not acceptable. Like, the idea, it's a mad straw man that it's actually a solution to. The problem it's a solution to doesn't exist. They all know that. They all know that's the case. They might even agree with you on a personal level when they're not in that particular state and they're not in that situation. Like, it's not going to stop them, is it? So in the same way, the people you get to when you say stop being toxic probably weren't toxic anyway. They were probably the choir, right? They're probably the people who also agree with you. So you can certainly do it as a way to express some frustration or feel like you're having some impact on the world or hope you get to some kid before he goes down a dark path. That could happen, right? But don't really think it's going to have a meaningful change. A lot of it's going to have to be the change within you, which is just learning to accept it, learn to ignore it, learn to filter it out, learn to deal with it anyway. That's going to be a more meaningful change you can affect than hoping you're going to change the whole world of everyone who can comment to or about you. Now, if you're a fan, listen, I get it as well. I've been in your position. The problem is, understand and try and think for a second that you can't really relate or understand what it's like for this person who's got massive follower count in that particular sense, because you simply haven't had that kind and that level of interaction and feedback. You have what? A few hundred, maybe 1,000, maybe a few thousand if you've done well on Twitter, people following you. Now, those are typically, like I alluded to before, with when the pro's smaller, probably people who like you, probably people who are interested in you. That's not necessarily the case for me or someone else with a lot of followers. I mean, I actually, when I get retweeted, because I already have a lot of followers, and then they can obviously retweet to people who don't follow me, I can have a wide pool of exposure to tons of people who don't even follow me, don't even like me at all, who might see my comment and respond to it. So as a result, it's not going to be the same as what would happen to you. So thinking to yourself, like, well, if you say something that is rude or offensive, then you're going to get those responses, Thorin. Yeah, I am. But you know what the difference is? You could say the equally rude and offensive thing, and you won't get all those responses. You won't even get the same type necessarily. In fact, if many of the people in your follower group, in your circle, are people predisposed to like you, they might even ignore and not tell you when they're annoyed and offended by it, and therefore you're not getting the same consequences. You're acting as though I do. Now, you are in terms of skill, but that's the problem. You can't appreciate what the scale is when you get up here. And so as a result, it's like the best example I've seen of this is one of the reasons why it became a thing for people with big follower accounts to embed, to quote tweet, or to retweet horrible things that people say about them is because what you're basically doing is you're getting someone who's thinking it's acceptable to say horrible things or be mean to people on the internet directly to them, and you're showing them, oh, is it? Well, have a little look at what life would be like if you had this follower base and people like you interacted with you. I can tell you what happens. A lot of the time, they start complaining about that, like, oh, I'm being dogpiled. Oh, he set his followers on me. Oh, now I'm getting hate comments because he quote tweeted me. This is unfair. I'm being attacked. It's like, what's funny is they're experiencing now on a lower level what you're experiencing from them, except they're just one of many people doing that to you. And they're now just getting a little bit of that themselves. That's why famously when you quote tweet, they often delete the tweet. They often claim like, I didn't mean it that way. It's like all of a sudden they start to gain some level of perspective. They don't often because they don't tend to apply that to you. They just think you made them a victim, unfortunately. But at least that's like an example of where someone might at least get a sense for the perspective in that. And like I say, ignoring shitty comments, it isn't as easy as you imagine. And so one thing I would say is this. Just as fans can have a bad day, bad week, and get in a bad trend, like a phenomenon happens where everyone's hating on you that day, even though they might not hate you next week. In similar ways, fans can have blow-ups. So can people on social media. And in fact, I would have to say, knowing a lot of people out there, I know a lot of people who get tons of shitty comments and they barely ever respond, but as a result, they have that blow-up out of nowhere. And most blow-ups, from my experience, aren't that they just got this one message, saw it and went apeshit at that message specifically for what that message contained. They typically nearly always are one of those like straw that broke the camel's back, like last thing on top of all of it. It's like that fucking Monty Python and the Meaning of Life, that fucking after dinner mint he eats. That's not what makes him explode, is it? It's all the other fucking shit he ate before. In fact, the mint is fairly inconsequential, except it just tips him over the threshold. That tends to be what happens. And the problem here is, as someone who himself is just a viewer of the account, you're not seeing necessarily what the other people are tweeting to that account on this tweet, on all the other tweets, and across all of social media. So as a result, that person might have just read a Reddit thread, and then they come on Twitter and make a comment, and you think, well, they're just saying this out of nowhere. They're just talking to no one. This is a straw man. So you won't necessarily know what caused them to respond that way. And as a result, they can look unreasonable. They can look crazy. They can look ridiculously angry. Oh, what a dangerous individual. I would give this analogy. It's like in the NHL and the NBA, there's a concept that they have, which is the reason why people who are instigators can be very successful. They can get the other team's best player thrown out of the game. They can get people fucked over in terms of fouls. It's because what happens is the instigator tends to be more subtle. And what he does doesn't quite go unnoticed. But then let's say the instigator trips the other guy, elbows him, talks shit in his ear. If the other guy retaliates and he thinks, right, well, this has been done to me, so I can retaliate in like kind. So I'd punch him or I'd trip him over when I get up after that. Or I say some shit, you bitch motherfucker. This is the guy who's going to get punished because people didn't see what the other guy did. And now it looks like the second guy's response is disproportionate to the first. And so he's going to look like the bad guy, which then is going to feel unfair to him when he gets the feedback that everyone's treating him like him's the one who instigated it. And that's going to make it even worse. And it's going to spiral out of control for that guy in a way it wouldn't for the first guy. This can happen on social media as well. I mean, this is one of the reasons, by the way, as a random aside, as to why a very effective strategy that's been used over the years by certain intelligence agencies and other such people who want to affect someone's behavior has been to do fucked up things like just come along and randomly slash your tires, break a window, kill a family pet. That way, then when you go on social media, like they're attacking me and they are killing my pets and I'm being watched at all times and look, someone left a sinister note. People are going to think you're the one that's crazy. They're going to go, fucking hell, he's paranoid. Like no one would do that. Why would anyone go to those? Because you can't imagine what it's like to be in that world. Then you've got to consider as well, you're also going to have all those people on social media. They're just there to nitpick. They're bored. They're frustrated. Maybe they're jealous. Who knows what it is? Maybe they just don't like you. And so they're just sat there with a black picket sign. And whatever you do, they're going to go, that's why I fucking don't like this guy because he said this. Doesn't matter what you say, they're going to find a way to take umbrage with it, to dislike it, to attack it, to make fun of it, whatever they might do. That's just another consequence of the circumstances we're in. And you've got to consider, always try to do this if you can. It might be the person's second language. Maybe they don't really understand what you meant in English, or maybe they're not communicating themselves very efficiently. That's a possibility as well. So I tried to lay out a lot of what happens here. And it's not that it's good or bad. It's just, unfortunately, the nature of the technology, the nature of people, the nature of how communities online have developed in a way that they don't offline, the fact that you don't have that social component where you would see you hurt a person's feelings or the person would be in the room. Remember, if I talk now about, you know what, that fucking Dak Prescott, I think he's pretty overrated and all the rest of it. The good thing is, when I have that conversation now with my mate, great conversation to have, it's just me and him there. Dak Prescott isn't sat listening on with a fucking glass on the wall. The problem is, on Reddit, where we're having the same conversation, it's the appropriate place to have that conversation online. Dak Prescott can go and open the thread, and that is like he's listening with the wall. And then he's going, oh, how can they say these things about these fucking assholes? And like, they're just being mean to me. It's like, well, they're not, mate. They're being mean about you. So it's kind of it's a complicated topic. There's a lot to tease apart there. But I do think overall, there is a net positive from having this community role for Reddit, for social media, for people to be able to discuss things there and engage. This video was supported by Dean Tanglis, Andreas Snazore Westerlund, James Harding, NateDOhDoubleG, OllieJ, Tobias Bernasconi, Travis Greb, Tristan Jones, Daniel Olivar, Jiangheng Lu, and special thanks, as always, goes out to Jerky's Minion, one of my OGs. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Maybe you want to ask me a question. I have a monthly AMA. Perhaps you want teasers for who the next guests are on my upcoming talk shows. Maybe you want to be part of my monthly discussion where my top patrons talk to me. Well, put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today at the description box link for Patreon.